13 black celebrities whose bodies were found long after they died. What if some of the world's most beloved black icons didn't simply die but vanished first, leaving families, fans, and investigators desperately searching for answers? Some disappeared for days, others for weeks, and a few remained missing until heartbreaking discoveries changed history forever. Behind every headline lies a story of hope, mystery, tragedy, and unforgettable legacy. In today's video, we'll uncover 13 emotional cases that continue to fascinate and haunt millions around the world. Stay with us until the very end, because one of these stories remains deeply controversial even today. Before we begin, subscribe to Golden Black Legends, turn on notifications, and tell us in the comments which case shocked you the most and why. Lorenzen Wright. Lorenzen Wright was more than an NBA center. To the people of Memphis, he was a hometown hero whose generosity off the court earned as much respect as his determination on it. After playing 13 seasons in the NBA for teams including the Los Angeles Clippers, Atlanta Hawks, Memphis Grizzlies, Sacramento Kings, and Cleveland Cavaliers, Wright built a reputation as a dependable player and a devoted father. Few could have imagined that his life would end in one of the most haunting mysteries professional basketball has ever witnessed. On July 18, 2010, Wright left his ex-wife, Shara Wright's home in Tennessee. It was the last confirmed time anyone close to him saw him alive. Days passed with no contact, raising alarm among family members, friends, and the Memphis community. Then on July 28, 10 days after he vanished, searchers discovered his body in a wooded area near Callis Cutoff Road outside Memphis. The location was isolated, making it difficult for anyone to find him sooner. Authorities determined that Wright had been shot multiple times, confirming that his death was a homicide rather than an accident. For years, the investigation seemed trapped in silence. Rumors spread, leads disappeared, and many wondered whether the truth would ever surface. Finally, in 2017, investigators announced a major breakthrough. Shara Wright Robinson was charged with arranging the murder, and she later pleaded guilty to facilitation of first-degree murder. The conviction brought long-awaited answers, though it could never erase the pain left behind. Lorenzen Wright's story remains one of the most heartbreaking tragedies in sports history. He was not only an accomplished athlete, but also a man remembered for his kindness and commitment to his family. Although his body was found 10 days after he disappeared, the search for justice lasted much longer. His legacy now stands as a reminder that even fame cannot shield someone from betrayal, and that the truth, no matter how deeply buried, can eventually come to light. Marsha P. Johnson. Marsha P. Johnson became one of the most influential figures in the fight for LGBTQ+ rights in the United States, remembered for her compassion, courage, and unwavering commitment to helping society's most vulnerable people. Born in New Jersey, Johnson later moved to New York City, where she became a familiar presence in Greenwich Village. She played a pivotal role in the early LGBTQ+ rights movement and is widely associated with the 1969 Stonewall Uprising, a defining moment in the struggle for equality. Beyond activism, Johnson dedicated much of her life to supporting homeless LGBTQ+ youth, co-founding the Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries STAR alongside Sylvia Rivera to provide shelter and hope for those rejected by society. In early July 1992, friends suddenly realized Johnson had disappeared. Days passed with growing concern before her body was discovered floating in the Hudson River on July 6th. Authorities initially ruled the death a suicide by drowning. However, many of Johnson's friends and fellow activists strongly disputed that conclusion, insisting her optimistic spirit and recent activities did not support such a finding. Reports from witnesses claiming they had seen Johnson being harassed shortly before her disappearance fueled public skepticism and intensified demands for a deeper investigation. For years, supporters refused to let the case fade into history. Their persistence eventually led the New York Police Department to reopen the investigation in 2012, changing its classification from suicide to an undetermined death. Although no one has ever been charged and many questions remain unanswered, the renewed investigation acknowledged that earlier inquiries may not have fully examined the available evidence. Marsha P. Johnson's story is remembered not only because of the mystery surrounding her final days, but because of the extraordinary legacy she left behind. Her compassion, activism, and fearless advocacy transformed countless lives. Even decades after her death, she continues inspiring new generations to stand against injustice, proving that while a life can end tragically, the impact of courage and kindness can endure forever. Atsu. Christian Atsu was admired not only for his speed and skill on the football field, but also for his humility, generosity, and dedication to helping others. Born in Ghana, he rose from modest beginnings to play for major European clubs including Porto, Chelsea, Everton, Bournemouth, Newcastle United, and later Hatayspor in Turkey. Beyond football, Atsu devoted considerable time to charitable work supporting children's education and assisting families facing financial hardship in his homeland. His warm personality made him beloved by teammates and supporters wherever he played. On February 5, 2023, Atsu scored the winning goal for Hatayspor in a dramatic league match, a moment of celebration that no one realized would become his final appearance. Just hours later, in the early morning of February 6th, a devastating earthquake struck southern Turkey. The apartment building where Atsu was staying collapsed beneath thousands of tons of concrete and steel. Rescue efforts began immediately, and conflicting reports briefly claimed he had been rescued alive. Sadly, those reports proved incorrect, leaving millions anxiously waiting for confirmed news. For nearly 2 weeks, rescue workers searched tirelessly through the enormous pile of rubble despite dangerous conditions and freezing temperatures. On February 18, 2023, Christian Atsu's body was finally recovered from the collapsed building. His death at just 31 years old shocked the football world and prompted an outpouring of grief from teammates, clubs, and fans across the globe. Christian Atsu's passing was not the result of violence or mystery, but of one of the deadliest natural disasters in modern history. Yet the days between his disappearance and recovery left millions hoping for a miracle that never came. His legacy lives on through the joy he brought to football, the kindness he showed to others, and the countless lives he touched away from the spotlight. His story remains a heartbreaking reminder that even the brightest futures can be changed in an instant by forces beyond human control. Aaliyah. Aaliyah was one of the brightest stars of modern R&B, admired for her graceful voice, effortless style, and remarkable maturity despite achieving worldwide fame at a young age. Born in Brooklyn and raised in Detroit, she released her debut album while still a teenager before reaching international superstardom with One in a Million and her self-titled album, Aaliyah. Hits such as Try Again, Are You That Somebody, More Than a Woman, and Rock the Boat helped redefine contemporary R&B. At the same time, she successfully expanded into acting with roles in Romeo Must Die and Queen of the Damned, proving she possessed talent far beyond music. On August 25, 2001, after completing the music video for Rock the Boat in the Bahamas, Aaliyah and several members of her team boarded a small aircraft bound for Florida. Shortly after takeoff, the overloaded plane crashed, killing everyone on board. Rescue personnel quickly reached the remote crash site, but the difficult location and severity of the impact made recovery operations challenging. Authorities later determined that the aircraft was overloaded and that the pilot was not legally qualified to operate the flight under the circumstances. Aaliyah was only 22 years old when her life ended, leaving fans around the world devastated. Her final album was already earning critical acclaim, and many believed she was entering the greatest chapter of her career. Instead, her sudden death transformed her into one of music's most enduring legends. Although her passing was immediate rather than a prolonged disappearance, the recovery and investigation following the crash kept the world anxiously awaiting confirmed information. More than 2 decades later, Aaliyah's influence remains unmistakable. Countless artists continue citing her as an inspiration, while her music still resonates with new generations. Her remarkable legacy proves that true artistry never fades, even when a promising life is cut tragically short. Thomas Sankara. Thomas Sankara's life was defined by courage, vision, and an unwavering belief that Africa could determine its own future. Born in what was then Upper Volta, Sankara rose through the military before becoming president in 1983 at just 33 years old. Almost immediately, he renamed the nation Burkina Faso, meaning Land of Upright People, symbolizing a fresh beginning built on dignity and self-reliance. During his 4 years in office, he launched sweeping reforms focused on education, healthcare, women's rights, environmental restoration, and anti-corruption measures. He rejected excessive government spending, reduced the privileges of political elites, and encouraged local production instead of dependence on foreign aid. His revolutionary ideas earned admiration across Africa, but also created powerful enemies both inside and outside the country. On October 15, 1987, Sankara attended a meeting at the Entente Council building in Ouagadougou. Gunfire erupted as armed soldiers stormed the gathering, killing Sankara and 12 of his associates. His body was quickly buried in an unmarked grave, and for years the circumstances surrounding his death remained hidden from the public. The military government that replaced him tightly controlled information, preventing many questions from being fully investigated. It was not until decades later that forensic examinations and renewed legal proceedings helped identify his remains and reopen public discussion about the assassination. For nearly 30 years, many supporters demanded truth and accountability. In 2022, a military tribunal convicted former President Blaise Compaoré and several others in connection with the assassination, providing long-awaited judicial recognition of one of Africa's most significant political crimes. Although the verdict could never undo the loss, it represented an important step toward historical justice. Thomas Sankara's story extends far beyond the tragedy of his death. He remains a symbol of integrity, independence, and fearless leadership across Africa and beyond. Even though his body lay hidden for years and his voice was silenced far too soon, his ideals continue inspiring millions who believe that honest leadership and national dignity are worth fighting for. Shad Gaspard. Shad Gaspard was admired not only for his imposing 6'7" frame and memorable wrestling career, but also for the extraordinary courage that defined his final moments. Born in Brooklyn, New York, Gaspard overcame a difficult childhood before finding success in professional wrestling. As one half of the popular WWE tag team Crime Time alongside JTG, he entertained audiences worldwide with charisma, humor, and undeniable athletic ability. After leaving WWE, Gaspard expanded his career into acting, appearing in films, television series, and commercials while continuing to inspire fans with his positive outlook and dedication to fitness. On May 17, 2020, Gaspard visited Venice Beach in California with his 10-year-old son. While swimming, they were caught in a powerful rip current that quickly pulled them farther from shore. Lifeguards rushed to the scene but could reach only one person at a time. In a remarkable act of selflessness, Gaspard reportedly instructed rescuers to save his son first. Moments later, another wave swept him beneath the water and he disappeared into the ocean. An extensive search involving lifeguards, helicopters, boats, and divers continued for several days. Family members, fellow wrestlers, and thousands of fans held on to hope despite the difficult conditions. On May 20th, 3 days after he vanished, Gaspard's body was discovered washed ashore near Venice Beach. The official cause of death was drowning, bringing a heartbreaking conclusion to a search followed around the world. Although Shad Gaspard's wrestling career earned him fame, it was his final decision that forever defined his legacy. Choosing his son's life over his own revealed extraordinary courage and unconditional love. His story is remembered not as one of defeat, but of sacrifice, reminding us that true heroes are often recognized not by championships or applause, but by the selfless choices they make when faced with life's most difficult moments. Ayler. Albert Ayler changed the course of jazz through fearless creativity, spiritual intensity, and a sound unlike anything audiences had heard before. Born in Cleveland, Ohio, Ayler learned saxophone from his father and developed exceptional musical ability while still a child. During the 1960s, he became one of the leading figures of the free jazz movement, rejecting conventional structures in favor of emotional expression and improvisation. Albums such as Spiritual Unity, Bells, and Love Cry divided critics but deeply influenced generations of musicians. Although mainstream audiences often struggled to understand his experimental style, fellow artists recognized him as one of the boldest innovators in modern jazz history. Despite his artistic brilliance, Ayler faced financial hardship and inconsistent commercial success. As public interest in free jazz declined toward the end of the 1960s, performance opportunities became increasingly limited. Friends later described him as carrying the emotional burden of trying to remain faithful to his artistic vision while confronting growing personal and professional pressures. On November 5, 1970, Albert Ayler disappeared in New York City. For nearly 3 weeks, his family, friends, and fellow musicians searched desperately for answers. Then on November 25th, his body was discovered floating in the East River. The medical examiner officially ruled his death as suicide by drowning, though the unusual circumstances surrounding his disappearance have fueled speculation for decades. Various theories emerged over the years, but no conclusive evidence has ever changed the official findings. Although his life ended at only 34 years old, Albert Ayler's influence continued growing long after his death. Musicians from jazz, rock, and experimental music have credited him with expanding the boundaries of artistic freedom. His disappearance became one of jazz history's greatest tragedies, yet his fearless pursuit of originality ensured that his voice would never truly be silenced. Today, his recordings remain powerful reminders that genuine innovation is often fully appreciated only after the artist is gone. Ryan Singleton. Ryan Singleton seemed destined for a promising future in entertainment. Born in South Carolina, he built a successful career as a fashion model before transitioning into acting, appearing in television productions and independent films. Known for his professionalism, positive attitude, and dedication to fitness, Singleton steadily earned recognition within the industry. Friends and colleagues often described him as hardworking, respectful, and deeply committed to his family. Although he had not yet reached the level of global celebrity enjoyed by Hollywood's biggest stars, many believed his career was only beginning to gain momentum. In October 2021, concern spread after Singleton unexpectedly disappeared while hiking alone in California's Mount San Gorgonio wilderness. Search and rescue teams immediately launched an extensive operation involving helicopters, drones, tracking dogs, and experienced volunteers. The mountain's rugged terrain, steep elevations, and unpredictable weather made the search extremely challenging, slowing efforts despite the determination of everyone involved. As the days passed without answers, hope gradually gave way to growing concern among his loved ones and supporters. After several days of searching, rescue crews located Singleton's body in a remote area of the mountain. Authorities determined that he had died from injuries sustained during the difficult hike, and investigators found no evidence of foul play. While the discovery brought heartbreaking confirmation, it also ended the painful uncertainty surrounding his disappearance and allowed his family to begin the difficult process of grieving. Ryan Singleton's story is a reminder that tragedy can strike even those filled with promise and ambition. His life was defined not by scandal or controversy, but by perseverance, kindness, and the pursuit of his dreams. Although his career was cut tragically short, those who knew him continue remembering his warmth, determination, and generous spirit. His final journey ended far from the spotlight, yet the impact he left on friends, family, and colleagues remains a lasting testament to a life filled with potential. James Jordan. James Jordan never sought the spotlight for himself, yet he became widely recognized as the father of basketball legend Michael Jordan. Friends described him as a hardworking man who valued family discipline and perseverance, qualities that helped shape one of the greatest athletes in sports history. James proudly supported his children's ambitions while building a quiet life centered on family and community in North Carolina. Although he was known to millions because of his son's extraordinary success, those closest to him remembered a devoted father whose encouragement played an important role in Michael Jordan's remarkable journey. On July 23, 1993, while driving home from a friend's funeral, James pulled over at a highway rest area to take a nap inside his car. During the night, two teenagers approached the vehicle, intending to rob him. The encounter turned violent, and James was fatally shot. His body was transported to a remote swamp in South Carolina, where it remained undiscovered for nearly 2 weeks. On August 3rd, authorities finally located the remains after local residents reported suspicious findings in the area. Because of the condition of the body, investigators relied heavily on dental records and forensic evidence to confirm his identity. The murder shocked the nation and deeply affected Michael Jordan, who was preparing for another NBA season. The tragedy contributed to his emotional decision to retire from basketball later that year, demonstrating how profoundly the loss impacted both his personal life and professional career. The two perpetrators were eventually arrested, convicted, and sentenced, bringing legal resolution to a crime that had devastated an entire family. James Jordan's story remains one of the most heartbreaking cases involving a famous sports family. Though he was not an athlete himself, his tragic death left a lasting mark on basketball history. His legacy lives on through the values he instilled in his children, reminding us that behind every legendary career often stands a parent whose quiet influence shaped greatness long before the world was watching. Speaker Knockers became one of the most promising young names in hip-hop before his life ended almost as quickly as his career began. Born Derek McAllister Jr. in Columbia, South Carolina, he possessed an unusual combination of talents, writing, producing, and performing much of his own music while still in his teens. Unlike many rising artists who depended heavily on major record labels, Speaker Knockers built his audience through YouTube and social media, where songs such as Lonely, Money, Finesse Father, and Rico Story attracted millions of listeners. His melodic style, catchy hooks, and independent approach helped him become one of the most influential young voices of the early streaming era, inspiring countless artists who followed. On March 6, 2014, concern spread after family members were unable to contact him. Friends and relatives searched for answers until authorities discovered his body inside the garage of his South Carolina home. He was only 19 years old. Investigators later determined that the cause of death was a heart attack resulting from a congenital heart condition. Officials found no evidence of foul play, bringing an end to rumors that had circulated online immediately after his passing. Although the period between his disappearance and discovery was relatively short, the sudden loss stunned fans across the music industry. Many had expected Speaker Knockers to become one of hip-hop's next major stars, and his death left behind countless unanswered questions about what his future might have held. His independently released music continued gaining popularity even after his passing, introducing millions of new listeners to his work. Today, Speaker Knockers is remembered not only for his remarkable talent, but also for the extraordinary potential that was never fully realized. His story serves as a heartbreaking reminder that success offers no protection against life's unpredictability. Even though his career lasted only a few short years, his influence continues shaping modern hip-hop, proving that true creativity can leave a lasting legacy regardless of how brief a life may be. Sadie Roberts-Joseph. Sadie Roberts-Joseph devoted her entire life to preserving history, educating future generations, and celebrating African American culture. Born in Woodville, Louisiana, she became one of Baton Rouge's most respected community leaders through decades of tireless service. Roberts-Joseph founded the Odell S. Williams Now and Then African American Museum, creating a permanent home where Black history, culture, and achievement could be preserved and shared with the public. She also organized educational programs, cultural festivals, and community events that inspired thousands of young people to appreciate their heritage and pursue meaningful change. In July 2019, family members became concerned after they were unable to reach her. Days later, on July 12, authorities discovered her body inside the trunk of a vehicle abandoned several miles from her home in Baton Rouge. She was 75 years old. Investigators quickly determined that she had been murdered. The shocking crime deeply affected the local community, where Roberts-Joseph had long been regarded as a beloved mentor and cultural icon. Law enforcement launched an intensive investigation that eventually identified a suspect connected to a financial dispute involving property and fraudulent documents. Authorities charged Rulon Gardner with second-degree murder, though he later died by suicide before standing trial. While many questions surrounding the motive were answered, the tragedy left an irreplaceable void in the community she had spent decades uplifting. Sadie Roberts-Joseph's legacy extends far beyond the circumstances of her death. She dedicated her life to ensuring that African American history would never be forgotten, and that future generations would understand the importance of preserving their cultural identity. Although her life ended in heartbreaking violence, the museum she founded and the countless lives she touched continue reflecting her vision of education, unity, and hope. Her story reminds us that those who protect history often become an unforgettable part of history themselves. Eddie Griffin. Eddie Griffin's basketball career reflected determination, resilience, and extraordinary natural talent. Born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Griffin emerged as one of the nation's top high school prospects before starring for Seton Hall University during the 2000 to 2001 season. His impressive combination of size, athleticism, shot-blocking ability, and perimeter skills made him one of the most highly regarded young forwards in college basketball. Selected 7th overall in the 2001 NBA draft, Griffin went on to play for the Houston Rockets and later the Minnesota Timberwolves, where flashes of brilliance suggested he possessed the potential to become one of the league's premier defensive players. Despite his undeniable talent, Griffin's professional career was repeatedly interrupted by personal struggles, including alcohol abuse and mental health challenges. These difficulties affected both his consistency on the court and his relationships within the league. Even so, many teammates and coaches continued believing he had the ability to rebuild his career if given enough time and support. On August 17, 2007, Griffin was reported missing after failing to arrive home. Later that day, authorities discovered that his vehicle had collided with a moving freight train in Houston, Texas. Investigators determined that he had died in the crash at just 25 years old. The official investigation found no evidence of foul play, although the tragedy reignited conversations about mental health, addiction, and the pressures faced by professional athletes. Eddie Griffin's life remains one of basketball's most heartbreaking stories of unrealized potential. His remarkable athletic gifts were evident from an early age, yet personal battles proved far more difficult than any opponent he faced on the court. Although his life ended far too soon, his story continues encouraging conversations about compassion, treatment, and the importance of supporting athletes beyond their public achievements. His legacy serves as a reminder that behind every professional career is a human being whose struggles often remain unseen until it is too late. Naya Rivera. Naya Rivera captivated audiences with her remarkable talent, confidence, and unforgettable performances, becoming one of television's most recognizable stars. Born in California to a family with Puerto Rican and African American heritage, Rivera began working in entertainment as a child before achieving international fame through her role as Santana Lopez on the television series Glee. Her portrayal broke new ground for LGBTQ+ representation on network television, while her powerful singing voice and charismatic screen presence earned millions of devoted fans around the world. Beyond acting, Rivera pursued music, authored a memoir, and became known for her honesty, humor, and devotion to her young son. On July 8, 2020, Rivera rented a boat with her 4-year-old son at California's Lake Piru for a relaxing afternoon on the water. Hours later, the boat was discovered drifting alone with her son asleep on board, wearing a life jacket, while Rivera had vanished without a trace. An enormous search operation involving helicopters, divers, sonar equipment, and rescue boats continued for several days as hope gradually faded. The difficult underwater conditions, poor visibility, and dense vegetation complicated every stage of the search. On July 13th, 5 days after she disappeared, authorities recovered Rivera's body from the lake. Investigators concluded that she had accidentally drowned after using her remaining strength to help her son safely back onto the boat before being overcome by exhaustion. The heartbreaking conclusion transformed the incident into one of Hollywood's most widely mourned tragedies. Naya Rivera's final act reflected the same love and determination that defined her life. She is remembered not only for her achievements as an actress and singer, but also for the extraordinary sacrifice that saved her son's life. Although her body was found days after she vanished, her legacy has never disappeared. Through her performances, her courage, and the lives she touched, Naya Rivera continues inspiring audiences who remember both her remarkable talent and her final act of selfless love. These heartbreaking stories remind us that fame can capture the world's attention, but it can never guarantee safety, justice, or even a peaceful ending. Behind every headline was a human being with dreams, loved ones, and a legacy that deserved far more than tragedy. While their lives ended under vastly different circumstances, each story continues to raise difficult questions and inspire reflection years later. Which case shocked you the most, and do you believe every family truly received the answers they deserved? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy uncovering powerful stories from history, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Golden Black Legends, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next journey into the lives and legacies of unforgettable Black icons.